what it means. You alluded to it again with Augustine, but what does it mean that the Bible out-narrates our world?
There are certain narratives in our society that try to explain pretty much everything, including Christianity. So that the Freudian, for example, would say to you, I can tell you what Christianity is, actually better than Christians can themselves, because it's all to do with projecting a father figure into heaven, and it's sort of, sublimated desire for the father and so forth. And I can tell you a story about Christianity that really explains it at a fundamental level. And the Darwinist could do the same. Christianity has arisen as sort of a survival structure, and there are evolutionary reasons why this would be a good story to believe in order to survive. And so I can tell you what Christians believe better than they can explain themselves. And there are a number of these stories in society, all trying to out-narrate the others. In other words, trying to fit all the other stories within their frameworks. I'm the big story, and all the other ones fit inside me, and I can make sense of them all actually really better than they make sense of themselves. Northrop Frye, the literary critic, has a very interesting argument. He says, for the longest time, that was the Bible in our society. The Bible was a story that made sense of all the other stories, the story inside which we live. But sometime, perhaps in the 19th century, the Bible stopped being that, and it became a story that we scrutinized rather than the glasses that we viewed the world through. And other stories came to make sense of the Bible. And that's the position in which we find ourselves today. Any number of people will queue up to tell you what the Bible really is and how it really came about and what's really going on with Christianity. From, I don't know, Dan Brown down, this is the real story. But the thing is that the Bible also does that to all the other stories. The Bible tells this grand sort of sweeping story of the universe that explains why other people are telling the stories that they are and why they think the way they do. And, as Augustine does with Rome, the sort of the claim is that the Bible actually explains Rome better than the Romans can, better than their own story. And it explains late modernity better than the story that late moderns tell about themselves. And that's what out-narrating means, making sense of other stories, of other positions, better than they're able to account for themselves. Sort of pointing out the contradictions or the blind spots or the holes in other stories, explaining why, on the premises of those stories, there must necessarily be those holes, and then showing why there aren't similar holes in one's own story.
Mm.